finish on time, we're able to do many other things, and we're able to also respect the ones who joined earlier. So a very warm welcome to Susan, Rajput, Robinson, welcome. Jane, a very warm welcome. Lydia, a very warm welcome, and to the others who will be joining. The webinar is being recorded, so please take note of us. And also we shall be having the opportunity to reference back if you have not, if you need to go back and listen to the webinars or the people who will join us later on. And also the notes will be on the LMS learning platform for ACHRP. So there's a lot that we can do as when we want to look for resources and materials from ACHRP. So maybe we can put out our expectations, but before we put out our expectations, I would like to start us with a word of prayer. It's always nice. Susan, do you want to pray for us?
Yes.
Thank you, Susan.
Let us pray. Father, in the mighty name of our Lord Jesus Christ, we come before your throne of grace this morning. Thank you, Jehovah, for this beautiful day that you've given unto us. Thank you, Father, for the training that we're just about to start. Thank you, Lord, for each and every member that is present in this meeting this morning, that you may grant us understanding, that we'll be able even to grasp each and everything that our facilitator is going to take us through. We thank you for our facilitator, that Jehovah, you may use her, grant her wisdom, grant her knowledge and understanding, that God, even as she imparts the knowledge unto us, we'll be able to get it, oh Lord. Bless us this morning, guide us through. In Jesus' name we pray.
Amen. Thank you very much. Yeah, thank you. So nice. So welcome for those whom we have not interacted with before. I facilitate at ACHRP. I'm very passionate about training. My name is Catherine Omwangi. I'm also a HR practitioner, having carved myself out from finance. So I've been in HR for about maybe now close to 27 years, and very privileged to have worked in a couple of industries, you know, in the corporate sector. I've worked in the NGO sector. I've also had an opportunity to work closely with the government in the area of policy implementation. So that's nice. I'm also an executive coach. I coach a lot around executive space and also children living with disability. I enjoy that a lot, but I'm also very passionate about training. So that's why I partner with ACHRP. So that's me. Let's continue with the engagement. And one of the things that I keep on saying for me is it's more of learning. These things, there's nothing that we do not know under the sun, you know. So it's leveraging on our experiences, on our networks here. Let's be able to look at what we are quickly able to grasp and take it back to the to our workplaces or our businesses, as I had said earlier, and being able to be the trailblazers for some of the best practices that we will share with one another. So I prefer an interactive class. I like the fact that we are few. I don't know whether many more people will be joining us, but it can be very bespoke, you know, around our experiences. So I like the fact that everybody will get an opportunity to share. And sometimes, you know, I'll pick someone and say, well, what do you think about it? And what have been your experience, you know? And we also respect confidentiality, that sometimes you don't want to name the institution or the time and the place, but just overall packaging it in a way that everybody is able to learn and reflect back on some of the things that we shall be discussing. So I'd like to hear people's expectations. The next 2 days the next 3 days actually, we'll have very wonderful match series. I'm very excited about it. Strategic employee relations. Tomorrow we'll talk about strategic workplace change management. You know, change is the only thing that is not static. And then the final one on Friday will be facilitated by another facilitator, not me, and it will be creating great workplace attitudes. You know, everything rises and falls on attitude as human beings. So I think that's a great topic where we will all enjoy. So what are the expectations for today, my friends? What are you planning? What when you thought, well, let me register for this match series? What drew your attention, your curiosity, as we call it in coaching? What really stood out for you and say, well, I'm going to create time for the next 2.5 hours or 3 hours for me to attend this training? Anything? So that I know whether I'm going to change my slides as well. Sometimes you prepare, then when you come to hear people's expectations, you know, whoa, I have to, those slides I cannot present because what people have said is totally different from what I thought they would be listening to. Anyone? Susan Robinson?
Catherine?
Yes.
I think the best thing that any employer would enjoy is being able to retain its workforce. And for me, when I saw this this training, I say this is a must attend training because for me, I have lost like 4 staff since January, and I would really want to understand what can I do.
Yeah,
what can workforce.
Yeah,
yes, and these are staff that have stayed in the organization for over 20 years and they are leaving. I have invested in training. I have invested in everything, name it, and they are leaving. I said this one I must attend. Thank you.
Oh, wow. Yeah. You've been there for a long time. Well done. I'm sure it's nice then for you to be there, Susan, for 20 years. Well done, you know. And how long have those people who have left been in the organization?
One is 27 years.
And in the organization?
Yes, the other 2 are 3 years. And the one that shocked us is 36 days. So I really want to know what could be causing people to leave and what can I do to retain them? Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. And we'll also talk about the whole around retention, but also when someone makes a decision to go, what do we do? Did we talk to them? Did we see the signs and stuff like that? So I hear you. And sometimes we can do everything. That's why I'm saying some of the things that we are going to look at this morning, it's not things that we have not done. It's not things that the institution has not taken into consideration, but still people leave, you know. So is it a bad thing for people to leave? That's a question. Is it, at what point do you see signs of people wanting to leave? You know, what does it mean for your brand equity and stuff like that? Yeah. Lydia, any expectations for today?
Yes, for me, let me say that employee retention is such an interesting topic. And that's normally the expectation of every employer, because the moment you invest on an employee, they have mastered their work. You really want them to stay on the job. And I've had experiences working in an organization whereby you just hear people saying, for me, I think I just want to look for another job. And it's not one staff, it's many. So you can imagine that if these employees got other jobs, there will be such a big turnover. So my expectation is to know under such circumstances, what approach or what strategies can you put in place to change the mindset of such people and they get motivated and they opt to stay on the job.
Yeah, it's true. How do we motivate people when you hear people want to go? What do we do about it? And how long then should someone serve you? I mean, in an organization, is there criteria? Are there a number of years? Is there a way that you can measure their productivity and say, well, even if they were to leave, we are happy with what they have done, you know? And of course, sometimes we also shy away and be very afraid and fearful that they are going to competition, they will take all our trade secrets and stuff like that. So I hear you, Lydia. And the younger generation, you know, they want to give you just 2 to 3 years and then they are gone. They keep hopping from one job to another. Is that a bad thing as well? As recruiters, are we the final? Does it Are we the ones to take full responsibility of people's living? Is it the board? Is it board of management? Is it the line manager? I mean, it can be a bit intricate and complex, but we will be able to unpack it and just see what whose responsibility it is. Okay, Robinson. Good morning.
Good morning, Catherine. Yes, good morning, Catherine.
Morning.
Hi. Okay, actually, for me, I am in the logistics sector, and I joined the company I'm in 2018. And when I joined, there was a much turnover, exodus of staff. So when I saw this training, as much as I've tried on my side to retain the staff, but I feel like I've not done that much. So when I saw this training, then I thought the grasp for me, at least to be able to leverage on the same and see how best I can retain the staff.
And you're HR in the logistics department, Robinson?
Yes.
In the logistics company. Okay. 2018, you must be doing well. So, and I'm sure maybe you have brought down the rate of turnover. So we want to hear also people's rate of turnover. The industry benchmark is 10%. If you have more than 10%, then there's a problem. And 10% is not people leaving, it's everything, you know, retiring people, death, unfortunately, of your employees. We shall be looking at leaving because of medical issues, leaving because of disciplinary issues, you know. So it's a whole package. It's not just, 10% of our people left, and then these other 10% left because of this. So we must be in totality. When we look at the rate of turnover, it includes all those processes of separation or ways of separation. Yeah. Rajput? Aditi, is that how you pronounce your first name?
Aditi.
Yes, okay.
So for me, I'm hoping to learn how best I can retain my talent and how best I can empower them and retain them. Yeah.
Yeah. How best? Which industry do you work in?
The telecommunications industry.
Okay. Yeah. There's a lot happening in that industry right now. So it's exciting to be there. You know, there's a lot of competition. It's agile. It's very competitive as well. So I totally agree. Yeah. How best to retain your employees. Okay, great. Last but not least, Jane. Good morning. You can see that you've muted your mic. Jane, we can't hear you. Okay. Maybe she has a problem with her mic, so let's move on. So strategic employee retention, high level, still going to operational level for us to be able to understand and to see where we are right now, present, current, and into the future. I'd like us just to pause here before we get into the slides of discussion and think about the 2 years of COVID. You know, now the masks are out, people are learning how to greet each other with their hands. You know, people are all over. It almost looks as if we are back, but there's still COVID out there. And I'm sure that you're encouraging your teams to go for vaccination and the boosters. Real important for us to be able to do that. 2 years, there was a lot of movements. And those movements were occasioned by businesses struggling to keep afloat. They were not able to sustain their revenues, and their P&Ls were floating, oscillating up and down. So it needed someone to make brave decisions and very painful decisions to let staff go. What would you talk about staff retention if you were affected by COVID? I'm sure you knew friends who lost their jobs, relatives or close family members who lost their jobs. How can we talk to the board around saying that we lost half of our workforce during COVID. What kind of board paper did you take? And they say you have very, very high turnover. How did you come to your defense, if at all? Or what do you think if a friend asks you, so what am I going to do? We all know we went home, and well, it was the easy way out. Was it really the easy way out? Now you're trying to bring them back. Maybe they don't want to come back because of the way you did it. But 2 years of real, attrition, now not retention, attrition was most high globally. And HR was expected to handle that process. What can we tell the board? Someone? Then I've seen, yeah. Susan, Lydia, Robinson, what do we tell the board? Anyone? What we went through, what we should have done better. You'll go and say that was a pretty unique year, and we should not be held accountable for what happened because it was rather obvious. How else can you unpack that information for the board? There's no right or wrong. I would go and say, well, it was what it was. You were also affected one way or another. How would you have that conversation, even with the CEO or even at senior management team? Anyone? Lydia, Robinson, Susan, Rajput?
Catherine.
Yeah.
Yeah, myself, I was not affected by turnover during COVID, but
Well done.
if a friend would ask, during COVID, the first thing that employers really looked at was there's no work, and we have this large or this workforce in place. How do we pay them? I think that's what they were thinking about. And I think the first thing for any employer who is paying employees would think of cutting down the workforce. But for me, I would have preferred, because these are employees that you will need them when the situation stabilizes. Like now, most employers are thinking of the people they laid off, and they were very productive people, and they are wondering, how do you bring them back? So for me, I would have preferred at that time maybe a roundtable discussion, and agreeing and a one-on-one discussion with these employees that there's no work, and maybe, although it's not in agreement with the law, but maybe bringing down their salaries to what the institution can afford as they watch the situation, so that you are able to give them something and they're still at work as we wait for the situation to stabilize. And now we are back. Is no masking, back to work, greetings like any other day. And thank you, Catherine.
Thank you. Thank you, Susan. Yeah, and I'm sure we can all attest to that. One of the things that we have seen is that organizations are asset rich and cash poor. We've put on a lot of investments. We don't have operational cash every day. And there's never been a more urgent time for organizations to know how long they can survive on their cash before they go bankrupt, or before they come and say, we don't have any more money to operate. And operational costs, we all know, take a big chunk of the revenue. And that means that your ability to produce your goods or services, your ability to pay your suppliers, your ability to pay the people who work for you. So if you have not had that discussion around this table with as HR practitioners, you must go and ask today, how long can we survive as a business? No, cannot survive. Can we run as a business before we say we have to close doors? Is it 1 year? Is it 2 years? Is it 1 month? Or is it half a month? For you to be able to know at the back of your mind, what plans would I be putting in place if anything was to happen to our business? And COVID showed us we don't know anything else can come. You know, a big competitor can come and push you off the market. By the time you think of reinventing yourself and taking a pie, they've already wiped you off and your profits are dwindling. So it's important for us to be able to ask ourselves, how long can you? It's the same thing as an individual, is that how long can your savings take you out for? We were told in the School of Management a couple of years ago, you have to have savings for 6 months. If your monthly expenses are 50,000 shillings, everything covered, comfortably 50,000, you must have 50 times 6 before you get to understand within those 6 months. It was said that you could get a job or you could start a business or you could look at many other factors around your passion and start something. Remember, you don't have money to start something. So also within your 6 months of expenses, you must have something that if you were to start a business, how much would you need? It gets very complicated, my friends. Then on the flip side, now it has changed. It is 1 year because of jobs. Globally, jobs are few and far between. And while at it, good jobs. That's the truth of the matter. So you must have savings of 50 times 12 times 50,000 for you to be able to stabilize and to see. And of course, we know that people ate into their savings during COVID, and it's the truth of the matter. So it goes back to the same principle, is that if I am expected to plan as an individual, the same thing is that a company must also plan itself and say, how long can we survive for? Of course, we can take overdrafts. Overdrafts is someone's money, so it means that you're in debt, and no business has money lying there, unfortunately, to come and say that 6 months, I have money lying there. It's a bad way of running the business. They could have money, but it's tied somewhere, even maybe in a fixed asset, in a fixed deposit, or in T-bills or things like that. But many organizations that we know, including your own business, does not have money just lying there and saying, I can. So how do we leverage on those kind of discussions? And it's not saying that if your expenses are 30 million every month, then we need to have 30 times 6. No business will have that kind of money, but they're able to churn out money quickly to be able to meet the expenses. That's why we got ourselves inside there. So it's complicated as it gets. I have seen very complex models of late that sometimes I have to ask people, can you interpret for me this model? What is this model? The business analysis experts now have a big role to play in the organization to see where we are and how we need to make money for us to be able to survive. So is how we making money for us to be able to survive? So good question for you. So please look at your business models and to say how it is. So that leads us squarely to that if you have money, then you should not have a problem with retaining employees, isn't it? We've got money, we know that we can survive, and so why are people going? And we've told them that we're in our balance sheet is healthy. We are a going concern and a strong one as well at it. If we were to come and ask investors to come and work, they would be happy running to come and work with us as an organization. If we were to sell this business, people would be coming to run to buy this business. But why are people still leaving our organization? People leave the Googles, people leave the Amazons, people leave the Coca-Colas, people leave the Safaricoms, people leave the KCBs. And I'm saying that because those are big known brands, and it's in the public domain that people like to work for those companies. So it's nothing that it's out there. So as you, the where you work, are you a well-respected brand that people want to come and join you? Are you, or are you not? Do you believe in your brand? Some brands are very small, and when you go to work there, you just think, wow, I have found home, you know, not this, whatever. And I'm sure many of us here would speak into their brands and how good they are in terms of finding home, even if they are not those 100 Fortune companies that people know. Okay, great. Any, I just wanted to say that scene in terms of for us to be able to move forward. So when you hear people leave, when I used to work many years ago, people come and ask you, oh, Catherine, how many leave days do I have? Isn't it? People come to the HR office and say, oh, can I see you for a minute? I say, yeah, come. Of course. I mean, and then you are thinking, they have a system that they can see the number of leave days. But anyway, those long time ago, when we never used to have systems and online systems for people to sell services for HR, they used to come and say, how many leave days do I have? And then I go to the file and say, are you thinking of leaving? As I look through your file, then they say, oh yeah, maybe I'm thinking of leaving. I mean, the brave ones and the good ones and the ones who sometimes you really have a good relationship with colleagues, because you're also a colleague to them. And then you start saying, Allah, okay, what is happening? I'm thinking of leaving. I found this job and stuff like that. So me, in my town hall meeting, I start even now and say with my meetings, if you're planning to leave the organization, please come and see me. If you're thinking of leaving, please come and see me for two reasons. First is to understand why you want to leave, and not more so of where you are going, because some people will never tell you where they're going, and we respect that. But sooner or later, you will find out. The second thing is for me to be able to give you a dry run for the job you're going to apply for. And they know, go, I will coach you, and I will take you through a mock interview. And why do I do that? Because I want to protect my brand. I want to protect the company that I work for. I don't want people you to go and interview and you are left thinking, that company, she say she works where? Is how? And then maybe Susan knows me, we know each other. So they've gone to interview and say, Catherine, I wonder what to. These are the people she has in her team. So we don't want public embarrassment. We want to know that the talent we have internally, our loss is your gain, first and foremost, if you're going to go. But we also want for us to have good representation. And good representation comes from the attitude that you're going to display at the interview. Secondly, your technical prowess and capability. Third, your confidence. You know, you must enter that room and own it because you are the expert. So you've represented our brand well. So that is important for us. So that's what we keep on saying. So if you're going to go, many come, by the way, even from other people, and they say, if you want to leave, come, so that we have that kind of discussion. So it makes people think that how am I going to make sure that I'm relating with that? So anyway, that's just that on the background. It sounds very, very naive of me to be able to set the pace, but I'm telling you, it has built our brand visibility, and for people to know that the talent that you have here is really good. Does it make us suffer in terms of bringing in people? Of course it does. Do you want people to go? No, you don't want people to go. But the third thing around us as HR practitioners or recruiters or employers is that people will leave. And how they build it, they're leaving to build the capacity of the world. You know, they are going to get more experience, maybe, and exposure that you don't have, but they are building capacity, and we become a better world for us to be able now to fully evolve and the snowball effect that takes place. So it's not so bad when people leave, because that experience is brought and you'll be able to maybe consume that service that you so want and so need. So there are many, when you think it from a global scale, when you think it from an internal scale and from an individual scale, there are always opportunities and advantages of people leaving, and there are more advantages of people staying. So when people stay with you, why do they want to stay with you? Why should I stay with you and give you 20 years of my life from 8 to 5, pushing longer hours than 5? Why do I stay with you for 20 years? What have you done? What am I seeing? And maybe Susan can give us an experience, her experience of being there for 20 years, from the time she joined and from the time she's still in the organization. Robinson as well, 2018, 2019. I'm sure he was hit by a big pandemic. You know, what have been some of those 2 years? What have we learned? What have been some of the turnover? Okay, great. Any reaction? Anybody who would call their people and say, come and let's get to know where it is? Allow me to do that. Anybody brave enough to do that? Okay, so let's do that. So did you know that 46%, and we all know people leave their job because of their, people leave their organizations because of, where do people leave their jobs? Anyone? Why do people leave jobs? It is said that most of the people leave their jobs because of their supervisors, or maybe the company culture. It's not because that they do not and they feel unappreciated. Human beings are relational, and also human beings like to be affirmed. So 6% of employees leaving a company do so because they feel unappreciated. 61 say that their bosses don't place much importance on them as people, while the biggest majority said, 88, they say they do not receive acknowledgement for their work they do. When's the last time you've got feedback or just acknowledgement? And acknowledgement does not necessarily mean that you'll do a good job all the time. Sometimes we just do a standard job. Sometimes we are those people who are high performers. Sometimes we will also not do our job very well. But can you imagine, because 80% do not receive feedback and acknowledgement. And acknowledgement, most of us think, is during the appraisal time. You know, that ding ding, it's appraisal time, formal appraisal, which is fine. So the one time I get to hear feedback and acknowledgement is the one time we sit with my supervisor, which is done hurriedly, 30 minutes, and off we go. That's not how we should be. So according to a study done in 2019, that's a long time ago, Development Dimension International, titled Retaining Talent, a benchmark study, almost a third of all employees surveyed expected to leave for another job within the next year. Another 20% estimate their chances of leaving could be greater than 50%. People make a decision to stay in the organization the first day they come to work for you, the first week. And the first week, they're still doing induction. They came, they signed up, they thought it was good. And then people make a decision to leave the organization within the first month of their engagement. I will stay, I will give it some time, maybe 2 years. I don't see myself working too well here or making a success out of my career. And then I will start leaving. So, and because Kenya recruiters are very hard on saying that you have left too fast, too soon, without digging deep and asking the person to give an explanation and for people to look at it objectively, we tend to hold on to jobs that we don't like because we don't want to get that question from the recruiter. Can we be able to change a narrative as recruiters? So employee relationships goes on to say, an employee relationships with his or her supervisor or manager and work-life balance are the most important determinants for staying in an organization. We agree. How I relate with my supervisor, how I am supervised by my boss or my manager, I don't know what we call them in our organization, determines how my stay will be in the organization and how long I am going to stay. Work-life balance, extremely important. Wellness, all those things that we want to work around. So we have let me pause there when I am on this slide still. So the law of, yes, it's a law now that you can't call employees after 5. How did we receive it? Have you called your employees and they pick, or do they do not pick? How did we receive it? Did we think that it was punitive? Was it welcomed? How have we mainstreamed it in our organization? Or you just thought, it's there. Our organization people will pick. After all, they know that we are the ones who have bought them the phones. The airtime is on us. The internet is on us. They should respond at our beck and call. What have we done? Anyone? Or even in your own thinking? Let's hear, and maybe we might be able to share best practices and be able to go back. Robinson, what have you done in your organization? Rajput, what have you done? Anything that you have done differently? Have you mainstreamed that policy in the organization? Susan, what have you done? Jen, are you able to unmute yourself now?
Catherine.
Robert, welcome. David, welcome everybody who has joined us recently.
Catherine?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a law. So we have tried to mainstream it, but also we have agreed, because there are times when it's something that is really urgent, that can't wait. And we've agreed that if it's urgent, we do a text message, and the staff will be able to respond either by calling back or texting back. Okay. But we have agreed that something urgent can't come. We cannot really predict. We cannot really say that we are okay after 5 days. Nothing that will come that will need our attention. Yeah. And I think it's working. Yeah, it's working.
Okay, great. So after 5, we text, unless it is extremely urgent, we call you back. David, Meshach, what have you guys done in the organization? Lydia, what have you guys done?
But we have agreed that something urgent can come.
Margaret? Anyone who has done things differently? Let's share and hear what you have done. Or you are waiting to be taken to court, then you do something. Are employees picking your calls? Robinson, anything that you have done differently? Can unmute. Okay.
Okay, Catherine, for me, any emergency, we usually do some calls and texts for quicker communication. Yeah.
Okay. So you're still calling colleagues after employees after 5 o'clock after their, anyway, it's not necessarily 5 because some of us work on shift. 24-hour, 24/7, 365. So whatever time is your stop time, you're still calling employees after their stop time?
Yes, like, okay, a good example for me is yesterday when an employee had lost his father, and it was a home death. So this employee was actually asking for cash to be able to transport their dad to the morgue. And I tried to reach the accountant, and that was past hours, by the way. And, we had to sort out. For me, he actually needed the help, and we were the people to help him.
Exactly. Thank you, Robinson. Our condolences to your colleague. So you see, it's a double-edged sword. It's about the culture that you have in your organization. You know, you will need me, like that colleague who knew that I need to call my employer because my employer will support me in this, you know. So it's the same thing. If you want to get help from the employer, so why wouldn't you pick the call from the employer who has been good to you? Again, I will go back to the kind of culture you have in the organization and how supportive you are in terms of even when you call people after hours. Are you cognizant of the fact to say that I know it is after hours, and even before the rule was put in place? Catherine, I know, please allow me to call you. It will take 5 minutes of our time. It's urgent, it is important. I will whatever. And when 5 minutes are over, before you have that conversation, you say, I know I promised 5 minutes. It seems to be taking longer than this. We can leave it. At least we have the genesis of the matter. We either leave it or we get we can continue. So it's very important for us to be able to understand where we are coming from with that rule. You can't just impose and say, but we give you internet, we give you the airtime, we give you the handset. Yes, you do as a tool of trade, but remember work-life balance. Remember the kind of relationships that we have built in the organization. You know, this manager calls me all the time after hours. Nothing, it's not anything urgent. They want to find out whether how far I am into the project. The project is due to, the deadline is 2 weeks from now. I already said on Monday at the department's briefing where I am, it is now Wednesday. The next report is needed on Monday, and they still want to ask me, and they're asking me after hours. That's an example. That sounds unreasonable, and that is not fair. You get what I mean? So, but there are some critical things that will be required by you as an employee to feedback. And when do we respond? So we must also use our own emotional intelligence as employees, and also us as employers, when to call people after hours. I know I'm in another WhatsApp group. And I'm telling you, when that rule became law, people are just like, let them call me, you know. And it's not a HR group, it's my former colleagues where we are we made very good friends and whatever. So we all had different experiences. And of course, I'm the only HR there. Then they were now laughing at me and making fun of me and making emojis. Let the colleagues, let the managers call me, and they will see me whether I will pick. I'll take them to court. Of course, it was a very healthy discussion around people saying, I have a very toxic manager. I am senior, but I will not pick. You know, we all now at different places. Some have still work in that organization, you know, but we really had a good conversation. And of course, now they were, you know, touting me as HR. Let's see what you guys HRs will do. So I learned, you know, that after 5, I won't pick. Someone said, I'll definitely not pick. Over the weekend, I will not pick. Whether we are going to see the president and the president wants to give me the whole of the country, I would rather miss that opportunity. So you understand where people are coming from, you know, different ways. And you can do a quick, I keep on saying, you don't have to invest in a lot of money to do employee engagement. That's a simple one. If employees won't pick your calls after 5, you know that there's a problem with with your engagement levels. They could be, not necessarily they could be, maybe someone is not able to pick, but they could be a problem. So let's move on. Employees want to work in supportive environments that give them an opportunity to make meaningful contribution. That's all employees want to do. They want to work in supportive environments that give them meaningful contribution, and people want to be empowered. The top 5 factors affecting an employee's decision to stay or leave a company are as follows: the quality of relationship with their supervisor or manager, ability to have a really good work-life balance, amount of meaningful work, making they feel that they can make a difference. From the CEO to the janitor, we all feel that we can make a difference in this organization, and my work and my expertise is respected. Level of cooperation with your colleagues and level of trust in the workplace. Please underline that, the level of trust in the workplace. And there are many ways we can find out whether we have the level of trust. One of them we've spoken about is that if I call you after 5, will you be able to pick up my call? And vice versa. If the employee is calling you, if the employee is calling you, will you be able to pick the call? Thank you, Robinson, for sharing that. Any question, any reaction? Okay. So we find out, I want us to look at this. In a study conducted recently, 1,000 employees were asked to rank in order rewards in terms of motivational value. So the employees and supervisor were asked to rank the rewards as they thought the employees would. Employers, so on one side, on the left side, you will see what the employees most value and what the supervisors thought. Just look at the same, and of course, employers always think that once I pay you money, then I should not have any more problems with attrition. Once I pay you a good salary, and what is a good salary, you will not be able to leave the organization. But we see that for employees, a good wage salary is 5. Actually, maybe if we took it at the rate between 1 and 100, it's at 50%, compared to the employer who's saying good wages, 100%. So we need to understand, and these are things I keep saying that we know these things. Interesting work that is interesting, work that motivates me, work that makes me feel that I'm appreciated when I come here every morning. Work is interesting. And what is interesting work, if I may ask? What do we think when we say, my work is interesting? Give me interesting work. Expect the organization to make my work interesting. What is interesting work? And how have you been able to create interesting work in your organization or even for yourself? What is interesting work? Anyone who would like to share? Please let's share so that we go out with good experiences and good learnings. Please feel free to unmute yourself. Interesting work. David, Meshach, Modoni, I'm picking out on you guys. Moragu, I'm picking out because when we started, we said hello. Lydia, anyone who would want to talk about interesting work? Yeah, okay, Lydia and Susan.
Okay, I think interesting work is it's work that somebody is enjoying or loving to do. They're getting satisfied. They can come, they do the work, and at the end of the day, they love what they have achieved. So it becomes interesting. They want to do it again and again.
Thank you, Lydia. That's good. Yeah. Susan, they want to do it again and again. Yeah.
I would say interesting work is when we are doing recruitment, we normally do the profile and we get an employee and place that employee. So work becomes interesting when the skill of this particular employee fits the work that this employee is doing. She enjoys. But when you take a staff, place this staff where the staff is not skilled, he or she will be struggling to really deliver and just figure out what this work is all about. And the employee tends not to enjoy because he doesn't have the technical expertise to deliver this job. So I would say interesting job is when the job is in sync with the skill of the staff. Yeah, then you really enjoy.
Very true what Lydia and Susan have said. So interesting work, it matches the capability, the expertise, knowledge, and competencies of the person delivering that work. The work is challenging. It has to stimulate your mind, and you are going out to research and find out more, and I'm sure that even in HR, when the new law came out, did you go out to your colleagues and say, I need to find out more because there's a law that has come in? When data protection law, before that, there was data protection. Did you go out? It's interesting. It mutates. We have new products and services in the organization. What am I supposed to know so that I support in manpower planning, so that I support in training and make sure that we have these skills? So interesting work encompasses what the organization does, and then me as a person bringing myself to understand that my people have the skill sets that they need to do. Interesting work also means that we have the tools and the accessories for us to be able to do the work. So I could have all the interesting work, but I don't have the machinery. I don't even have photocopy paper, so everything that works around interesting work. We are not saying that things are perfect, but even things when it's not perfect, you still feel that, okay, fine, it's a bit broken right now, but I'm sure people are working in the background for it, or I'm even being given an opportunity to express myself as what it should be. But many organizations, sometimes we punish people first because we do not like them. We feel that they are a threat to us, and deploy them to places where they have no expertise. They really did that work 30 years ago, and they do not even understand the environment that they have been sent to. I don't know, I've never had, there's nobody who has ever come out straight, but in the police, in the security forces, like in the police, that when a supervisor does not like you, a form of punishment is that they will take you to a hardship area. Maybe your family is in Nairobi, your workstation has been in Nairobi, for example, and then all of a sudden you find yourself in the northern part of the country, because then as a way of punishing you. So you definitely will not find your work any more interesting, even if you wanted to do the best for the organization. You will be demotivated, and all of a sudden, work is not interesting, even if you have the skills and the capacity and the competencies to be able to do that work. So holistically, we must look at people's environment. We must look at the resources that are required for us to be able to do the work. We must match that expertise, and we must look at the personality in that department for them to be able to work harmoniously. Okay, great. Anybody who has punished someone, send them somewhere else, or send them to work from the basement because they didn't like them and they did something? Or have you been sent to the basement? Yeah, so organizations are crazy, and organizations are run by me and you, and some of the decisions we make are very unfortunate and very painful for employees. So you can see, and interesting work is number 1 for employees. Interesting work is number 5 for the employer. So can we invert and make sure that that is done? Full appreciation of work done. I want full appreciation. When I have interesting work, then I do it well. The next thing that follows naturally is for you to come and say, Catherine, well done. We really like the way you work. You're hardworking, we notice it, and we appreciate you. If it was not for you having done this and consistently doing it, maybe we will not have achieved these results. You get what I mean? Let us give the brownie points where they deserve. For full appreciation, you see, full appreciation, go down. Number 8, completely. After all, it is, I give you a job. So you gave me a job. You thought I'm just here. I need to be appreciated, not accommodated. There's a nice saying that goes almost like that, So you see where the employer puts it down here. They think that you've appreciating you is like, it's like what? It's like, it's not a good thing. It's like babying you. It's like, well, after all, you know that you do a good job and we employed you to do a good job. People need to be appreciated. Even at home, I know you appreciate your children when they do a good job. You appreciate your spouses when they do something good consistently. You appreciate the employees that you have employed at home. So that is where it starts. When we start appreciating people, we appreciate people on a grander scheme of things when we go to the workplace where we spend a lot of time. And colleagues, let's do this as well. Appreciate people in your team. You might not be the manager, you might not be head of department, but appreciate your peers, and say, oh, Susan, hey, I admire the way you work. Every day you show up, you have motivation, you support. I just like start appreciating people and being gratitude and expressing gratitude for working in the team and making work easy. So when we start at that level, the manager will see, whoa, these people are appreciating themselves at that level. Maybe I need to up my game. So that is where it is. Of course, they will see job security. We want to have job security, very important. But job security is second. You can see how inverted and dysfunctional we are in terms of what I want as an employee and what the employer wants for me or expects that I should appreciate. So job security, very, very important. And then when I know I have job security, I know that wages will follow because I'm doing interesting work. I'm driving productivity in the organization. I'm being appreciated. I am motivated to do more. Feeling of being on top of things, I'm empowered. Then after that, I know I have job security. When I have job security, what follows naturally? Money, isn't it? So let's make sure that even when we do all these things, that we look into that aspect. So you can see it's very systematic for the employee and very, very hard-held from the employer's point of view. Any question? Have we invited for you as an employer? Let's say you are the employer. Have you aligned yourself to some of these things that they are top of your mind as you actually look at how employees relate with you as an employer? So if not, let's try slowly by slowly, and we should be able to achieve them. Is that okay? Any question? Feel free to ask. Okay, let's move on. So it also goes on to show that interesting aspects of this study, how little supervisors and management really understand their employees. We have seen that and we've discussed that. How little actual control they have the things they think their employees want. Very, 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 very little control. How much control they have over things employees actually want. And eventually, and the last one is, even though the study was done 55 years ago, employees still want many of the same things that is in the job. So this study has, the first time it was done 55 years ago, even if it was done, it is the same thing that actually emerges even now. Any question? Any question? Okay, so we'll go on to see that what is retention? What is retention?
Funny meeting Ayanzi.
What is retention?
Okay. Sio lazima, you just click on that link, alafu utaona kitu hapo launch meeting, you click on the launch meeting.
What is retention?
Sija download Zoom, it just brings when I click like that.
Who needs to mute?
Lady.
I think who needs to mute? I think one of us. Okay, yeah, because anyway. So there we are. So what is retention? So we are told that employees' retention is not about money, not at all, and we have seen that. Retention is about the human value, how employees are treated as people, and how do we make sure that then we can ask ourselves, how do we treat people? How do people want to be treated? It's all about the environment that you have created. You can have a wonderful strategy. You can have all the money that you want, but if people do not feel valued, if the environment is not right, if the culture is not right, then if we do all these things, they will never be able to support. So employee retention, what the employee wants most is to be respected and treated as valuable human beings. That is the truth of the matter. And finally, if supervisors and managers meet the human needs of their employees, they will stay, reducing turnover and creating commitment to the organization. Susan, when you say that one left within 36 days, what happened? So they just got salary for 1 month and then they gave you, it was still within the probation period. Oh, what happened? Or they were already interviewing with someone else. I can only imagine that maybe they were interviewing with someone else and the deal was too nice for them to not to take.
Catherine.
Yeah.
For this particular employee,
yeah,
there were a lot of things happening.
Yeah.
And from my perspective, as the employer, this particular staff was, I would say, for lack of better word, he had personality issues. So I would say our setup is a church kind of institution. So it could not really fit so well. That is how I'm looking at it from my perspective. But from the actual thing on the ground is that this fellow got another job in Uganda. So I think when he came, maybe he had applied ours and the other one. So when he came, he got, and then he got the other one and maybe compared, and he settled for the other one. But for the 36 days that he was in, there was a lot of push and pull in as far as trying to settle him and trying to get him to understand. But you would see that there was that will. The will was not there. So I cannot really say that he was not willing. Maybe already his mind was in the other job. Yeah, that's how I looked at it. Yeah. But currently, I followed him up and tried to do as an exit interview with him. We normally have a template for that because he was not really comfortable in really discussing one-on-one. He said, "Is there a template I can fill?" So I am waiting to hear the feedback from this particular employee. I'm really interested to know.
Yeah. And I assume that he was working in a different department, not in your department.
Yes, he was field-based.
Okay, yeah. Okay, yeah, and we can relate with Susan's experience and around recruiting someone leaving within a month and someone not being able to fit in fully in the role. And that's why it is important, even as we are recruiting, we ask people, we ask candidates, are there other leads that you are following? I think that is important. And if we were to give you this job and you are following other leads and you think you'd come through, where do you see yourself flying? And candidates will never, unfortunately, even if we ask that question, I'm not saying that we will be able to get the correct answer or the total honest answer. Even me, I don't know. You're offering me 50, maybe I'm earning 20, you offer me 50. Oh, that's really nice, and the benefits, and I like everything. So this other job comes and it's offering me 70 with the same kind of benefits that you have, the same kind of job. And maybe the other layer is that I am going to work in Uganda. It's so conflicting, unfortunately. Sometimes it rains and it pours. But I think in terms of not burning bridges, a good employee would come and say, you remember I told you I was following many leads. I know I've already signed up this job, but this other one has come, and allow me to go. But you see now, the other predicament that Susan was in is that this guy was not fitting in. First 36 days and you are not fitting in. I think he was not right for you guys, in terms of your culture and stuff like that. Because then even the first 36 days, I should be in my best behavior, trying as much as possible. If I must jump how high, but sometimes someone's true colors really come out from the very beginning. And that's why it is important for us to do as much as possible culture fit questions and experiences at the recruitment stage to see whether this person will really fit in your culture. Because we keep on saying, let's employ for attitude and not for the technical expertise. Attitude is number one. Technical expertise, you can always do what? You can always teach. But sometimes, goes well, sometimes it doesn't go too well. It's complicated. We are not magicians, okay? So we look at job surveys. A survey was taken in various organizations, including profit and non-profit. The following were the findings of the survey. When we asked employees if their jobs were fun, the following information was received. Almost always, sometimes, never. When asked if the pay was enough to keep them in the job, if their job was not fun, they say that 36% said yes, 64% said no. Pay, always. Are you treated fairly? They say that. Sometimes they are 42%, never 4%. Well, it's on there. That's really good to know. And 54%, almost always. Are you listened to? Listening is a key component. Not enough, 40%, enough, 54%. And are you recognized for extra effort? 58% said yes, and 42% said no. So it just goes on to say that people want to be felt. People want to have this conversation. People want to be brought to the table for you to be able to understand what they want. Some of these results are good, isn't it? So we see being treated fairly is paramount. Being listened to is paramount, and listening is a two-way traffic. The extra effort that I do is very important, and for us to bring fun at work is extremely important for us because we are social beings. We are social beings. So when we bring fun at work, watu wanasema tuko na mchezo sana, si ndio? So what is fun? What's our definition of fun at the workplace? Mko na mchezo sana, so you have to tone it down now. What is your workplace fun? What is bringing fun at the workplace? Anyone? Oh, it's all seriousness, suit and tie, work like robots, one place to the other, good morning, even without a smile, morning, without a high five, without anything. How? Tell me how. We are supposed to bring work at places are supposed to be fun. Anyone who has brought fun at work? Lydia, anything? Akram? Jane, Robert, you're many now. Arthur, welcome everybody who has recently joined. Arthur, how do you bring fun at your place of work, or what is fun? Is fun a key component of people being able to feel that they want to stay at your workplace? Anyone? Susan, I'll pick on you again.
Catherine, I would say fun at work is setting aside or creating time out of work. It's not like 5 to 8 and nikazi too, but trying to, for us, tea breaks, we like do all of us and chip chats and have fun and talk, discuss, exchange ideas during tea breaks and lunch breaks and team buildings at the end of the year and lunches, media for staff. We meet with management and that is done when we are doing the media reviews and looking back at what we have done since January. So we retreat to a place. And after that, we do lunches together and like unwind and out of work discussions, that kind of thing. So it breaks the monotony of 5 to 8, 5 to 8, 5 to 8, work. Yeah.
Exactly. So there are many things that we can deliberately do to make our workplaces fun. Team building, tea breaks, having conversations that are not too serious, thinking about some of the hobbies and interests that people like in the organization and bringing them together. Maybe you have a room that is a library or has some games, chess, darts, what do you call it? Maybe you have a soccer field and stuff like that lighten the mood and whatever. We also use humor. Even when we fail, we can still see the humorous part of a failure that we have done. So it's not all like, it must be by the book. We have light moments around us. And also the way we have set up our offices. Now we all talking about interactive working spaces. Our not just plastering our values on the walls, but even the way we arrange our desks. We are hot desking, we are putting a bit of more open plans, we are having some meeting places in the middle of our offices. We are lightening the mood. The colors are a bit brighter, not just the white and the corporate blues and stuff like that. We are putting furniture that has color and character, really interactive working spaces for us to lighten the moods that we have in the organization. So it's that healthy talk around that we can really have a rib cracking moment when it's well deserved. You get what I mean? That does also say that doesn't mean that we disrupt work. That I am talking to Susan, who is in the other side of the hall, and I'm telling Susan how football was interesting yesterday, and we are laughing about the team that was, and we are distracting everyone. We must also be cognizant that we work with people and people concentration and wanting that whatever, but building that fun place, and we are known that all work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So putting that in place, what are some of the things that we can do? So around our decisions, around bringing humor to the workplace, being human, it's never that serious. I love that mantle in my life. It's never that serious. I can still see humor even in the most dire situations with respect. I'm not laughing at you. Hey, you've been left go, you've been whatever, but now you didn't finish that work. You see, that is what got you into that trouble. How can we help you better? So lighten the mood is very important for people to know that they are appreciated. And there are some people who joke more than others, so they need to know when it is here. So just going on to show the other questions that are very ideal for people to know whether you are going to stay or you are going to leave, and how people feel you and how people feel the employer that they are working for. What kind of service does the organization give? Does your manager give clear instructions? Are you given clear priorities? Do you agree with your priorities? So it is important for us to make sure that we are able to support the employee against the deliverables of the expected deliverables of the employer. So these are some of the questions you can go and even ask these questions at your department level. Feel free to pick them and go and do a small survey at the department level and see how people are engaging and how people feel that they are supporting you. So let's talk about some of the models for understanding your employees in regard as to whether they will stay or whether they are on their way out. What has been your turnover rate last year? The previous year, whether you were very steady, like what Susan has said, is that they were very lucky, they never let anybody go. And maybe many of us in this webinar had the same kind of not privilege, but their business was steady enough to make sure that people did not go. There was no half paid, there was no unpaid leave. It was business as usual, which is good. We whatever. But some businesses then went through the dip. But when it was very stable, maybe 2018, what was your labor turnover? And why did people leave? And sometimes people leaving, who is leaving? That's what you should also ask yourself very critically. Who is leaving? Is it your core business? Are they ones that your critical positions are people leaving? Then you have a big problem. If which maybe, and because we're able to fill those positions quickly, that's why I'm picking on a position like a janitor or an office assistant is not a critical position for your business. Let's call it what it is. And that's the truth of the matter. So if you look at a position that is not critical, you're able to quickly fill it in. There are many people waiting at the door, fill it in quickly, then you're okay. But if it's let's say you're in production and your production manager, very good, has been in the organization for 8 years, and all of a sudden they come and say, I'll be leaving. And their notice period is 3 months. They're even telling you, okay, 3 months. Well, I want to leave within a month. And they're even saying, I'll pay you for the 2 months notice period because the other employer won't wait for them for that long. They even given the money, go and pay them so that you don't live in bad light. So, and another one, let's say your chief marketer or salesperson is leaving, then you need to start finding out what is the problem. Even if, I'm not saying that the janitor who leaves is not important, but we need also to look strategically at some of the things. You don't want to waste your time where other people can do it. But looking at your critical positions and making sure if this person was to leave, who's going to replace them? Why are they leaving? Especially at the peak of their career. They came in as a junior production officer. They have risen the ranks. They are very good at what they do. And then all of a sudden, when you think I need another 5 years because of the kind of strategy that I have in place, and tell you they are leaving, you're caught between a rock and a hard place. So that's important for us even to understand and reflect back who are living in your organization. As a supervisor or manager, you probably spend most of your time in the bottom half of the human business model. But do you have the relationship with each of your direct reports on the human level? Do you know sometimes about their family situation? Do you know about their passion? And for each one of the employees, do you understand what your employees do during their free time? What are some of the things that interest them? Do you know them at that family level? And sometimes you don't want to be seen to be in their space, but how you create those relationships is how you endear yourself to people and how approachable that you are. Because if we are working in this environment, there is no way that I came in as a single person. Then you hear I got married. I planned my wedding for 1 year, and then you guys didn't get wind that I'm getting married. There's a problem. Can you imagine? One day you just hear someone maybe in the quality assurance department who was the one who was invited for the wedding. You guys in the department, no idea. A wedding of 500 people. Maybe you go to their social media handles and say, yeah, and it's true. Imagine. How would you feel? You work with this person now, and then they're coming and saying, oh, by the way, I have a spouse that needs to be added to the medical cover and whatever. Or even, maybe they're married and they never even, they never told you, oh, we have some good news. We'll be expecting a baby, and I'll be going for paternity leave. They're only asking you 2 days after the baby has been delivered and say, I'll be applying for whatever. Some of these things around things that people benefit from the organization, medical and stuff, you should actually, they shouldn't come as a surprise to you. I'm not saying that, I'm not disrespecting the fact that people will want privacy, but if we are working with someone, I'm not saying also that I should be invited for the wedding. Those are private matters and those are personal decisions. But as a human being, then, oh, by the way, guys, I'm getting married on next month is my wedding. I'm constrained for space. I've got only 50 invites, and I'm asking for you to celebrate with me, but unfortunately, I have no space for you guys to come. We'll understand. You get what I mean? We'll even buy you guys a gift. Maybe we might grumble and say, now what is this? Put us on the fence, light-hearted moments. You get what I mean? But we respect that decision. So what I'm trying to say is that we are relational. We will want to know what happens to you without feeling we are intrusive into your personal space. But some of these big milestones that we make in life, we need to celebrate them with you. You'll want to ask for time off, for leave and stuff like that. So they will still be seen, they'll still be felt. But if we are not engaging at that level in a way that people feel that they can share some of the good news and the milestones that they're achieving as individuals, then there's a small disconnect. It's not a challenge. There's a small disconnect around that. That's what we want. We want human level relationships, not just at business level. Most of us is that we want to relate at business level, but this is where we spend most of our time. So even when they are making plans to leave, you never know. It catches you as a surprise, and then you just start thinking, oh, why didn't you even tell us? That I'm thinking, but that's not how we relate, and this is a personal decision. People should feel indispensable for the organization. Please mark that sentence. People should feel indispensable for the organization. That if I am leaving this organization, how am I leaving them? Have I done everything in my power to stay? They have made everything possible for me to stay. So why am I leaving? I am leaving because I have found this fantastic opportunity, and I will go and tell them that I have found this fantastic opportunity. I'm not able to to say no to. And if another opportunity comes in, and those are the people you welcome back, your boomerangs. 5 years later, Allah, Catherine is back. Yeah, she's back. Bring all the knowledge you got out there. Come, we are happy to have you back. That's only will be found at human level. If you concentrate at business level, you will never be able to get the best out of the people that you have. So by taking time to remember something personal about an employee, a manager shows how important each individual is to the organization, and that is the beginning of a wonderful relationship and making sure that people stay. Yeah. So any question there? Nanyaku, who was not invited to the wedding, to the baby shower, or to what else goes around? Many things go around. Or to the drink up? Yes, Robinson.
Okay, Catherine.
Yeah.
For me, I just wanted to ask her this question because, okay, when I was taking over the HR office, there was a lot of exodus, as I've told you. But again, I came to realize it was maybe as a result of my predecessors. So I started to open my arms to bring in the staff. And I remember at one point, one of the supervisors who was passing by, and I was having an employee in office, and we were discussing and some sort of laughing, say that this office does not act like a HR office. So what's your take on that? Because, okay, personally at that moment, I felt somehow offended. But again, I see it has worked to an extent, because you see an employee coming to you and is confiding to you that I'm leaving, but if it were not this, if it were not you, then I would have just left and left everything. So.
Very good question, Robinson. You remember where we have said, and I have said that we think that we are doing a favor to employees to be where to come and work for us, and you brought the humanness, you brought the face of HR to the business, and you brought people into the business. Then someone in the background is thinking, oh, why? They are here to work. It's a two-way traffic. It's a very, very thin line that you started setting the pace. So well done. What the mentality of your colleague, and you should now start changing that narrative and that perception, is that we need each other. We need each other, and people are here to be appreciated and to make sure that they are doing the best. That's the only way we will stop having the turnover, and that's the only way we will be able to stabilize the business. Because then you also show them the repercussions of people leaving the business. We need each other. People must feel indispensable for the business. That's the truth. And thank you, Robinson, for starting to change that narrative. But the other line managers, and that's why you should be a strong business partner to line managers, is for them to know that if it is not for people, then they will not be successful. And then you also pose this question, because you are peers to them, you ask, so you're also an employee. Come on, you want to be treated the same way. You want to be treated the same way. You know me, even if I'm HR, I'm still an employee. When Share Kiongezwa, I'm still being recognized, and I'm still entitled to that. If there is no salary increment, I'm also affected as Catherine. If I make a policy that seems so detrimental because, well, I have the position and the power and the knowledge or whatever, I will still be affected by that policy. If I have the opportunity to say our compassionate leave for this organization is 10 days, and I just think, oh, let's give it 5 days. When I want to enjoy the compassionate leave, why? I keep asking people, why? Why would you want to be mean? I will still, when I think about that, sanity prevails. And I think, oh, I should make progressive, whatever, policies that are within the strategy of the organization conform to best practices, conform to statutory regulations, ability for us to be able to budget for those policies, everything that we know that we should take into consideration. And then when I think, Allah, even me, these policies will also affect me. When we start looking at that, then it makes us become better employees and better employers and better people managers. Okay, great. Someone else who would like to add on to Robinson's experience, what they have done? What would you do differently? Someone who comes and says, why are you saying that? And you should not be laughing. Light-hearted moments, nice things.
Hi.
Hi.
Finally, I can speak. I had to change to my phone.
Thank you. That resiliency and goodwill. Done.
Thank you. So I think the gentleman who has just spoken, for me, I'm still new in my organization. And coming after, there's not been a HR for over 2 years because of COVID-19 and all that. So basically, you're walking into an organization where you are supposed to deal with the issue of employee turnover, high turnover. And I think for me, even just joining this is to find a way, how do I deal with this issue? You're coming.
We lost you, Jane? Or did you lose me? Yes, I can hear you now.
So you're putting systems in place. You're trying to deal with the high turnover. You're trying to deal with the human side, understanding all these things. So yeah, so I'm at that place, and you also knew somewhere. I think I'm also just giving a comment as we continue the discussion.
Yeah, thank you. Well done. That's a very brave step in terms of 2 years gap with no HR because of COVID. You can understand high turnover because of the time of COVID, and how now do you start leveraging and bringing stability to the business. Of course, maybe you have to look into many other things. Quick wins. What are some of the quick wins you can put in place? Your critical positions there. How are you appreciating them? Of course, and you're coming out of that. You're coming out of the woods, and maybe you don't have all these big budgets to be able to do that. So constant communication is important. This is where we are. We've achieved this milestone this month, this quarter. And if it was because of all you people and saying that we are happy to take your suggestions, we are happy to take your opinions, we look into them, we may not be able to do that. But the most important thing I would like to say is that this is a senior management role in terms of setting the pace. HR will have the technical implementation expertise, but at that level, in terms of high turnover, especially during a crisis, it's the responsibility of top management to be able to communicate. When we are stabilizing, what does that mean? We brought in a new HR. This is what we're expecting them to do, and let's hear their brief and let's support them. I think there's never been a better time for you to feel the support of senior management and to look at some of the quick wins that we expected to do. Robinson, I totally agree. We're in this together. There's never, we must be human, and only being human is for us to be able to do that. And let's appreciate the reason for bringing fun at work, that people will stay because of some of the things that they feel that we do, and making it as an example, and then challenging your peers and telling them, you also here, if you were to buy this company, would you buy it? If it was to be gifted to you, would you take it? Deep questions. You must challenge them with deep questions and data to support where you are right now. Okay, someone else who'd like to give us their what they have done previously or what they are doing or some of the challenges? Someone else? One? Okay, so feel free to unmute. So we look at we are two models for understanding your employees. The choice model. Choice model basically says that in any interaction we have with anyone, we have three choices. We can either discount that person by making him or her feel less important. We are very good at it or doing that than us or the organization, which is a negative. We can just take care of the person's business needs. You know, we are paying you, we're giving you work, we are letting you go home at 5. Just, you know, there's no oomph. Actually, that's the word. There's no oomph. Just there.
I've learned something as well.
Or we can create human level connection. You see? It just goes on to show all the things that we have talked about. So incrementally, that where are you at in your organization? The choice model, just close your eyes and just think, oh, this organization, how does it relate with its people? You know, discount, you know, you make them, whatever, we've done you a favor to bring you into the organization. If it was not for us, you would not have a job. You know, that is it. And then it's business only, it's transactional. You do what needs to be done. There's no oomph. We pay you at the end of the month. Why are you complaining? And why are you making sure that whatever needs to be done is being done? You get what I mean? So it's important for us to know how we are actually engaging with the employees. But when you get to the human level connection, you are playing on a different league. And that's where people want to be, where people need to be, so that we bring down our people, people who are their retention and attrition rate gets down. Okay, any question? And then the other model, the first one is choice, the other one is care model for retaining your employees. So we also need to check and say, yeah, out of it is creative communication, atmosphere and appreciation for all. There's no, you don't favor one person and show the other people that they do not matter. So it's important for us to make sure that the atmosphere is right, and also we appreciate everyone. Respect and reason for being. People want to be respected. And what is the reason for being? Empathy and enthusiasm. There's never been a better time in businesses to lead with empathy and enthusiasm, also leading with vulnerability, and also leading with trust. 4 critical elements that are needed in the business now, very, very important. So we want to look at each one of them, and I'm sure you might just think, oh, okay, fine. And I'm sure these things you do them, maybe just in pockets and in things that you know, but we are not just putting them in a much more practical and maybe fashionable way for you to be able to know that they are models and whatever. So the first choice one, where you at? Second one is the care model. So creative communication, talk the language of the troops in the trenches, not that the crowd in the ivory tower. You know, let's talk exactly what is happening in the trenches. It is really bad. We are not able to make it. Talk the language of the troops. And the only way you can be able to talk about the language of the troops is for you to be there. For you to, let's say you have, you sit in head office and you have branches in other counties in the country. And maybe those people work in the field. You will never be able to know exactly what is happening in the trenches unless you are actually there. And allowing the troops to be able to talk exactly what it is. When they say that it gets very hot in the afternoon, we would like to start off early at 7 o'clock to be in the field so that by 1 o'clock we are back to the office. Would you be able to accommodate that? And then you come and say, no, we start work at 9. Have you ever gone to the field to experience it yourself? So we need to talk that language and to know exactly what people are saying. Be more listening. You know, sitting in the ivory towers won't give us the full face of what happens out there. Be clear and consistent. Don't rely on one avenue of communication. Use everything. You know, use the platforms that we have for us to be able to know exactly what it is. So let's have creative conversations. Let us be able to listen to each other and be on the ground to listen to exactly what is happening. And let's also be able to call out bad behavior. You know, Catherine, you are not doing the right thing. So let's also be able to be brave enough and come and say, it's not working. It's not good for us. There are consequences. So we must also express tough love when it is required. So here are some questions that you might be able to use when you want to have creative communication and much more. This is not exhaustive. Does it get the information across clearly and accurately? How does it make the receiver feel? Very important. Does it surprise the receiver or get his or her attention? And these are things that if every day we are giving feedback, then we should not be surprised that when we say that, Catherine, we've tried everything that we have to support you, but unfortunately it's not improving. And guess what? Today we are going to have a conversation with you on putting you on PIP. It should not come as a surprise, you know. You've warned me many times, you've given me feedback or what it is, you know, or every time in the town hall meeting, we are saying XYZ, well done, team ABC, XYZ. So when it is time for us to award employees of the year, or maybe those trips that people go to, we know that Team Kifaru is the one that is going to take it. It has been consistently expressed and seen and data, and everybody can feel it. So by the time even whoever is announcing the master of ceremony or the CEO, whoever, or the head of department, by the time we say Team K, everybody is applauding because they know. Of course, the other ones will not feel too good that this team, will feel, oh, I wish it was us. But they actually can see, because constant communication, clear communication, backed with data, backed with facts, is very important. We'll try and go a bit more faster. So how do we create a positive environment, you know, and be able to create that is encourage a place of fun at the workplace, create a good physical place to work, you know, interactive working places, establish and monitor programs, actively promote positive relationships among co-workers. I would like us to think through the hybrid way of working. So, thing is that because now the world has gone into embracing hybrid, what are we doing for our teams? Because still attrition will still happen. You want to make sure that there's retention. Do we feel that the hybrid way of working will encourage retention, or will encourage, or will create a fertile ground for attrition, in your opinion? Hybrid. Who's working hybrid? Who has instituted hybrid before, after? Now there's much more. Employees have been told to go back to work. They don't want to go. It's done now. We should have a case study of employees refusing to go back to the office. Some totally have refused. Some have said, unless you give me hybrid, I'm going to leave. Some are happy to come to the office every day. Different circumstances, but the world now has gone and understood that we need to give some level of flexibility, because we have seen that it can work. Whoever thought anyone would work from home 24/7? Do you think, in your opinion, are you able to transfer some of these things? How are you creating a face-to-face interaction in terms of your culture? How are you collaborating? unless we have this, deep discussions as HR or as people as peers who are looking after people. Hybrid, what is it? What has it brought in the area of retention and attrition? Is it better? Are people hiding behind the inefficiencies? Are you able to create some of this, creating an atmosphere? How do I create it fun at home? Robinson?
Okay, Catherine.
Yeah.
For us, during the COVID time, because in the logistics, most are the drivers. And, during the COVID time, then those are the office staff, we were allowed to work at home, though the company had no that policy. So, but we had to sit around, we had to have a meeting with the management and convince them to give us the leeway to work from home. So when we resumed, you see there is that tendency among the staff that if somebody is having maybe something wants to attend at home, then he calls you telling you that for me today, I feel like I will not be able to come to work because I'm having ABCD, maybe my child is sick. My wife is not feeling well, so I need to attend the child. So allow me to work from home. See, so I believe as much as it has brought that flexibility, because at that time, then somebody will tell you that I'll not be coming to office because my wife or my child is not feeling well, and they switch off the employment. So you need to get somebody to do their work. But here they are telling you that I'll not be coming to office because of ABCD, but allow me to attend my duties for. They have realized that even if you'll not be in the office, still you can deliver while at home. Yeah, that's
Very
what
true.
they can say.
Yeah. So it has actually changed completely, that I will still work, but I have fundis coming to the house to do a certain work. I must supervise them. It's totally changed. I have to go to pick up my child from school. Today I will not come to work, but I will still continue working. My spouse is not feeling well. I will need to be at home to look after them. I will be working from home. These are different conversations. And if you are still so fixated around, but you have to take them to hospital 2 hours, where is the human connection that we are talking about? You tell them that you have to fill a leave day, but on top of that, they said, I have fundis coming to work at home. I will still push work. Your people. There is one rotten potato. Even if they tell you they'll work from home, they've gone to another county. Leave that one. We are talking about the level of trust that Robinson has said. So long time ago, because it was physical, you would tell them, okay, fine, you're not able to come to work. Please fill a leave day. Remember, people need to feel that you care for them. You still work from home and whatever, people will give reasons, and those reasons are valid. Are you taking them into consideration? The currency of empathy, the currency of empathy, enthusiasm, the currency of trust, and the currency of being vulnerable. Vulnerable means that I don't know everything, but I can also come back and tell you that this is what I'm facing. Allow me to do it, but I'm still at work. So if you've not instituted some of those things, then people will just think, well, even when I'm working from home, you still want me to leave half day. That's the time even when they work, if they get an opportunity, they will do their own things. They will push their own agenda. So let's start trusting people. Thank you, Robinson, for that. Someone else? What we have done and what we have seen the landscape change to for your business, for your people. How have you hybrid working side attrition and retention? Anyone else would like to share? Anyone else? Okay. So how do we respect and reason around the model of care? Increase respect and organization must. They need faster flexibility in the area, in every area, that is hours, benefits, and tasks that we have, training and personal development, growth and opportunities, develop an organization, company-wide board of either and cascade that process down to each team, provide internal promotion and transfer opportunities. These things we know, that we are talking about. But how do we, some of these things, how do we become more deliberate? And what are some of the things you can do, you as an after this webinar, to take back to your business and say, this is a quick win, but we are not capitalizing on it. And I would like us to run with it, because either it costs nothing, it's zero to the company in terms of time, in terms of money, in terms of any other resource, we can be able to do it much more. To give the employees a reason for being in the organization, an organization must emphasize the deeper, broader purpose of each person's work, how they are doing it every day, making someone's life better. Are you doing that? And endanger and the pride and commitment through the organization's culture and brand, how we are special. Encourage employees to write their own personal mission statement, support characteristic development and integrity training, promote family in the organization. Very important. Let's move on. Please feel free to stop me. Empathy, how are we bringing empathy and enthusiasm? Support work-life balance, a faster understanding of personal concerns, encourage job shadowing and exchange programs, provide monthly and yearly social welfare opportunities. Things that we are doing. How are we bringing enthusiasm? Celebrate what is ongoing right at frequent basis, frequent basis. We're going, whatever, this is what's happening. If people want to share their personal stories, success stories, feel free. And if they are happy for them to and stuff like that, create that vibe around, it's fun, we zeal, we are happy, celebrate often, positive work, get employees at all levels involved in planning and executing celebrations of all kinds. What kind of celebrations do we celebrate at the workplace? What are we celebrating at your workplace? What do you celebrate most?
Birthdays.
Birthdays, It's a great milestones. Here's something else. What are we celebrating? What are we celebrating? Was it in our class? These things, many. There's someone who told us, I can't remember where it was, but it was pretty recent, that the MD actually, if there's an employee who's expecting a baby, pregnant, a female employee, that the company will hold a baby shower, and the CEO, was it you, Susan?
Yeah.
Yes, you see, I remember things. I would be, tell us, can you imagine? Yeah, tell us about that. I was growing, did I hear that? Isn't that so cool?
It is. We have a welfare kitty as an institution.
Yeah.
And this welfare kitty caters for bereavement, baby showers, and weddings for the staff, the contributor, and their children. So when we have made deliberate effort that the baby showers is not a women's affair. So the men also joins in, and the CEO is at the forefront for this one. He never misses for the baby shower. So we go visiting this who is blessed. Yes, exactly. Yeah. At a place or his place. So the welfare department organizes that, and then we go as a team And unless something comes up, but it is normally we go in numbers and visit this particular staff, and the CEO and management. We are the forefront in this, and it's also an opportunity to get to know where staff live, and sometimes something happens to staff and you don't even know where they are living. Unapewa direction, you're given come, blah blah blah. But this kind of functions, it gives us an opportunity to know where our staff living, and you get to know staff at that personal and close level. Yeah,
it's true. Yeah, well done. Yeah, I remember. Thank you for sharing that. Is the staff welfare voluntary or is it mandatory?
When the law or the Employment Act says that you don't deduct staff without consent. So at the induction stage, when the staff are onboarded, we share that we have a welfare kit, and it does ABCD. This is the constitution. And we encourage every staff to join in so that when you're having ABCD, you're supported in this way. And we give the staff time to think about. And I have not come across a situation where the staff says, don't deduct me, because it's a reasonable amount that it's a moderate or rather modest amount that is not so much on a monthly basis. And staff, they sign in a consent form just to agree that I consent the employer to deduct this to go to welfare. So I would say it is, we do some kind of discussion and agree on it. Yeah.
Okay, that's good. I like what you have actually emphasized is that we give you time to think about it. Just because I'm new and I have to agree to everything that is in an organization does not warrant me to sign up for things that I do not agree to. And sometimes I can even join and say, oh, it doesn't serve my purpose. I should not be looked at badly when I want to leave. You get what I mean? If I want to leave, it's my own prerogative, but I keep on saying the kind of culture, ability to relate with other people, and to be able to be seen as social being is extremely important. We spend most of our time there, unless you are really, you swim against the tide, you want to be where everybody is. And if it's a good thing, you want to be partaking of it. So if we have an opportunity to bring in welfares at the workplace, where we can carve out some of our personal things and celebrate them when time is right, then it's important. Okay, so retention. Let's move quickly. Retention and staff turnover. Retention is the percentage of employees remaining in the organization. High levels of retention is desired in all the job groups. Your critical positions, you see, like Robinson, if that the position of a driver is a critical position in your organization, because that is where your business lies in terms of logistics. You do logistics. If you don't have drivers, even if there are many in the market and it's easy to get drivers, it's a critical element. You can't want your drivers to be leaving after every 1 month, 2 months, because you think that it is just a driver's job. Maybe you have specialized kind of cars, you have vehicles, you have a specialized kind of business model to be able to deliver. They must be able to go and talk to. There's a level of customer service. There's a level of understanding that they are transporting, and for them to make sure that they are transporting them within the right framework and stuff like that. So sometimes we think that the low-level jobs in the organization are not critical. So it depends with your business and what's the level of understanding. So it's important, even if it's easy to get those drivers, you invest a lot of time in training and getting them there. So the percentage of employees remaining in the organization. Turnover is opposite of retention. Refers to the percentage of employees leaving the organization for whatever reason. Avoidable turnover is distinguished by unavoidable, so that the proper emphasis can be placed on the avoidable portion. Is avoidable and unavoidable turnover. What is avoidable, and do you actually have those two? Now we start thinking on a bigger grand scheme of things around avoidable, interesting, and unavoidable turnover. What is avoidable and unavoidable? Someone with examples? Unavoidable?
Catherine?
Yeah.
I would say avoidable turnover is, if I take you back to where we were looking at what employee prefer and what the employer think is employee prefer, I would say avoidable turnover is when you are keen as an employer to understand what your employee needs and ensure that you provide that to them, then you are able to keep them. But if you are not keen in really understanding them, then you miss out the point, and you start concentrating on what you think as an employer, and the employees leave. So what you can avoid is when you provide, understand them, and you ensure that the work is interesting, they are fully appreciated, they feel they are part of the system, and that their job is secure. Then those are the things that you can do to keep them.
Yeah.
That's how I understand.
Very well put. Very well put. And the other one? Someone else, or Susan, you can continue.
Unavoidable, I would say you can do all these things. You can understand the employee, you provide this environment that is really conducive, but an employee gets a deal that is sweeter and puts you in that situation that you cannot really hold him or her, the organization, and you have to let him go. You have done your part, but this one, it's just off your hands.
Yeah, and it's given that despite having the best intention, doing everything that you can do within your powers, employees will still leave. That's very true. And sometimes but never feel. That's why I said, why are people leaving? Maybe they're leaving because they've gotten an offer thing they will never get in their lifetime, so they leave. And they have come and told you, prep me for this, whatever, for this interview. You've also come and said that they in skills that will help the world. So sometimes we have to think mindfully around people's living. Unavoidable, sometimes people will die. Sometimes you will let people go because of bad business environment that you are not able to compete with money to pay them. Unavoidable will also be around people who will be in poor health and they need to just leave the business because they cannot perform adequately. So there will be some things that even when you go to the board and say, "Whoa, well, we really in touch with, and maybe they are traveling in the same bus and whatever, you lose a big staff force." And so some of these things, and we all know that we should never travel together. You should all stagger people to travel in different means of transport or times and stuff like that. Good way of making it to be avoidable and unavoidable. Great. So impact on turnover in the organization, we all know financial, even have to go through and discuss them, survive to exhibit problems and exit problems and issues, productivity losses and workflow interruptions, so you will be impacted. Turnover has a huge economic impact on the organization, both in direct and indirect costs. You have to think about someone who's living it. You have maybe to pay someone acting allowance. You have to lose their stuff like that. Sometimes your brand will become affected. If have you ever seen people leaving a company and people just follow? Get what I mean? So that is something that we have to be very clear about. An issue in the right labor market where the success of the company depends on employees with critical skills. Recruiting and retaining the appropriate talent can determine the success of the organization. People are brands, and people buy because they trust that person. Exit problems and issues with the increased litigation in the workplace. Many organizations spend significant time and resources addressing the issues of strangled and departing employees. And some people will not just give you authentic reasons and all truthful reasons. I'm leaving because of A, B, and C. They quote, mimi staki shida, mimi nimeenda. You all know, sababu nini nimeenda. But have you created an enabling for people to air their grievances, for people to be seen that they can get feedback and they can act on that feedback, that the managers are not feeling threatened of feedback that is coming from the people that they supervise? Productivity turnover situations, a person who exists abruptly leaves a productivity gap. There's no question about it. The void, and especially if they are a critical position, they really throw their company into a turmoil before they are replaced. Loss of expertise, loss of business opportunities, administrative problems. I don't know whether you saw a couple of, is it like 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, a company that has been on the spotlight around a lot of stuff. Mention it because it's in the social media and they have not issued a statement when Look For Yourself trending, and also that they have very elaborate interview, very elaborate and long and boring and winding interviews, one after the other. And people were complaining, even if I'm doing all these interviews, I'm still not selected for the job. So why go until 20 interviews before you tell me that what is that all about? And of course, you've also seen that people are now, HRs are now more on the spotlight around giving feedback to potential candidates who don't get the job. Important for us, if you've invited someone for an interview, if they did not get the job, please let them know that you didn't get the job. Just send a one-liner, even if it's a one-liner. If you have the time, if they come back to you and say, why didn't I get the job? Take the time to tell them why they didn't get the job. People will be more. Now, you've seen all those emails going around. I did an interview, I took my time, prepared their presentations, they didn't pay for it and stuff like that. It's not what it was. It has totally changed for recruiters. And unfortunately, because recruitment is a big function for HR, the person who is the recruiter is actually the hiring manager, but you are the one on the driver's seat to drive and to guide the process. So it's important, safeguard your name. First, and if you're not safeguarding anything else, then safeguard your name as Catherine. Safeguard your brand by giving back feedback. If you don't think that, you think that I'm giving feedback on behalf of I work for. No, people will remember who interviewed me. I interviewed with XYZ company. The person who told me would give me feedback was HR. I took the HR's name and they were called Catherine. If you won't do anything else from today, safeguard your brand against whatever. You don't want to, if of course you're at stake, well, they don't give feedback, they don't do that. But remember, if people want to dig deeper and throw egg on your face, they will come and say, you do so many, she never comes back, he never comes back. So if anything, then that when we do that, all of us as HRs in this world, will be known that we are giving back feedback or even responding and saying you didn't get the job. That's it. But I gave you feedback, you didn't get the job. And also maybe also put a disclaimer on your interview adverts and say only shortlisted candidates will be contacted. If you don't get to hear from us from 2 weeks at the close of the ad, consider yourself unsuccessful from the very beginning. But the more candidate, you owe them their whatever. Again, protect your brand, protect company image. So when we have lots of labor turnover, we all know these things. Disruption of social and communication networks, job satisfaction of remaining employees. People are going. You want to tell me that the XYZ is leaving? Isn't always the gossip at the coffee pot, the concern at the water dispenser? You've heard the head of department has left. Hey, okay, then there's a problem. And maybe there's no problem. Communicate and let us be able to do that. So impact. High turnover creates a negative image of the company with a revolving door. If you're always having high labor turnover, nobody will want to apply. They'll always say, oh, okay, but people are always leaving that company. What is the problem? And you know some brands, even if you work for them, you won't go. Is there anybody here from Kenya Power? Hands up. Okay, so I think Kenya Power, they try. I think they try, but sometimes they don't do enough, because of the kind of service that some they give to the citizens, and they're supposed to give exemplary service. They not just at home, but the economy at large. But they are a brand that is so essential services, but they are a brand that does not deliver their promise. So sometimes, even if I keep thinking there are many people who will want to work for Kenya Power because I think it's a stable company, do what needs to be done. But in terms of brand image, it's difficult to talk about it as a strong brand. They offer services that we all need, unfortunately. We have to go to them for services, but it's not a strong brand in terms of employee value proposition. And that is saying, there are many things. I'm not them. I'm just saying that they could do better because they have a very strong place in the society in terms of providing service. Then the other day, Twitter, Kenya Revenue Authority, KRA, said that they would like to rebrand, and they got a beating from the public, and they were saying, why do you want to rebrand? First fix the mess inside there, because people feel that maybe when they go there, they don't get all the services, or they are not attended to the way they would like to be attended. So some people who would not like, you see perception again, maybe you've never even interacted with KRA, but when you read such kind of reviews, then you say, is that a place I would like to go and work? Good jobs are far in between in this country. So sometimes you just say, oh, I've gotten a job, so let me go as I work myself out of a job. You good experience. You want to give people a good experience from the word go, from the day they leave university or college to come and work into the world of work, whether it's a big corporate brand, whether it's a parastatal, whether it's the government, whether it is no business. You want to give people a good springboard for them to propel their career. So wherever it is, whether it's a mature company of 100 years, whether it's a small SME, a large SME, we need to be careful to people's experiences, your brand perception, your image in the society, and also how you're going to interact on one-on-one with people who come to work with you. So many things come into play. And then it also affects the ability to retain and the ability to make sure that people are believing in your identity. Any question? Any input? like to say something?
Catherine.
Mm.
And I had a board meeting a few days ago, like 2-3 months ago. And after presenting my report, and mentioning that we had no turnover in the period under review, one of the board members said I should not be happy that staff are not leaving. What's your thought on that?
I should not be happy that staff are not leaving.
Yeah.
It's good. Yeah. I mean, it's you should not be happy that staff are not leaving. Was it to throw you off balance? Was it to make you do better? Okay. Someone, and throw it also to the plenary. You should not be happy that staff are not leaving. Someone, Robinson, Akram, Mohammed. Anyone would like to say something? Jane, Lydia, Jane. 2 Janes, Robert. Mesha.
Maybe I can say something.
Yeah.
Probably looking at it from the angle where probably some time back, or I think we've had this discussion on media, especially when it comes to government jobs, where an issue was being discussed where there are some people who never want to even go on leave because there are things, they have interests. If they dare go on leave, or if they leave, a lot of information or things will be unearthed that they cannot afford letting people know. So maybe if I look at it from that angle, then I would say it's not good that people don't want to leave. Maybe what are they hiding? What are they trying to protect people from finding out?
Okay, so spinning it and saying, why don't you want to leave? You protecting? Are you gaining? Are you having undue gain, from the organization? Are there some systems and loopholes that have emerged and easily been created for us to have undue gain? And then I can't, hey, this place, no, I'm enriching myself in whatever way, sometimes not necessarily money, so that could be one thing. Yes, thank you for that. Robinson, you should be concerned that people are not leaving.
Okay, Catherine, for me, I would look at it in this direction. Okay, we all believe that when they leave, then okay, maybe the head hurts. When they leave, then you believe that you are having the best to build another company or something of that sort. So when these staff are not leaving, then maybe the colleague who was asking that question, they were trying to make her understand that do you really think that we are having the best? Because they could be they could be not living in the sense that wametosheka, understand? And they are not competitive outside there. So maybe she was being prompted to the question that do you think we are having the best? Are our staff competitive in the market? Exactly. Personally, I would look at it in that direction.
Okay, thank you, Robinson. Thank you, Jane. Anybody else? Anyone else? Yeah. Well, there's Susan, unfortunately, also an answer can really say that it's more of a discussion of why aren't my people leaving? Then I can say I'm a real good employer. My benefits are above market. I'm a center of excellence. Everybody comes to us as we are a trailblazer. You know, you have now to think through. My pay is above market in the areas that I operate. Our culture is right. When I do the surveys, I get feedback. You know, I get the vibe. You know, sometimes it's just also the vibe that I'm here. And then you can also say, when you look at data analytics, I have had my employees, the number of service, average number of service vis-a-vis the time they came, and also the milestones that people have been able to achieve. So you can see that data and say, I think I'm good. Looking at what it is, board members, I think we are doing well, and we are referenced. We are good for ourselves. I think in terms of whatever, we've got the best expertise. On the flip side is what Robinson has said, is that I'm a standard employer. You know, complacent, they don't want more. They know that they are not competitive out there. Maybe they have, and they've gone and said, Ryuko, there's no pressure. It's just, I do my work, I earn my pay, the benefits are okay, you know, but I know out there, nobody can touch me. So it's also, it's hard. But of course, on the flip side, me as HR, I'll defend myself and come and say, nobody wants high turnover. And these are the repercussions of what we have talked about. This is what it is. It's good to look at it from an open, with open lenses of saying, I am the best, and I can be able to give facts and figures on how I am the best as an employer. On the other side, I am looking at you guys. I'll give you tasks, and I'll make some little changes in the organization and see whether people will be happy with those changes. You get what I mean? Like, I am people who have not been given projects in the past to, let's say we are doing a job evaluation exercise. So we are 5, and we give someone who has the principle, never done it. Will they take it, and will they take and run with it? Of course, you'll need to support them. You're not taking them out for failure. But when you give people more responsibility, how do they receive them? How do they receive it? You get what I mean? If you come and say that we need to lower our benefits, let's say you're not, and sometimes it can happen that our medical cover, we are going to co-pay. Every time you go out there, you have to put in 200 consultation towards your consultation. What are people going to say? You know, those are bases of people just whatever. I'm going to do a salary, a job evaluation. And you see people starting to defend their positions. You get something like that. Sometimes just status quo and see what it is. So it's difficult to say what it is, but it's a question that you would want to reflect back and say, what have they just said? So you need now to start looking at the data, analyzing the data. And if you're in the good, if you're above market, then good. If it's just, okay, I'm not sure people would be taken by XYZ. My competitor is not looking for me. And it's also important to see then when people are leaving, where are they going? Are they going to the same industry to your competitor, or they are going completely to a different industry? That also makes you start thinking, what is competition seeing from me? Where am I losing to competition? Or if they go to a totally different industry again, the world has gained. Not that they won't gain when they go to another competitor, but what it is. You get what I mean, Susan? So it's very difficult. There's no right, it's not conclusive that it's bad or bad, it's bad or good, but you just have to think a little bit more around what you have in your organization that could lead to that.
Thank you, Catherine. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So sometimes you need to shake the status quo. So we won't even go through this because we know negative impact of turnover in the left, you know, loss of employment benefits, job seniority. We know they go through whatever financial difficulties, loss of social networks, relocation costs, all those things, that whatever wasted projects which are not completed and stuff like that. Those are things that. So we go back and look at external drivers of retention, you know, what has caused the retention crisis in the organization? Major changes in organizations, both internally and externally. You know, why do you have a retention crisis in your organization if people are leaving? And this is it, you know, job changes for more favorable climate circumstances, economic growth, slower growth of job seekers, unemployment rate at lower levels, shortage of special skills, and entrepreneurship. What we need to entrepreneurship is that you want people who have a business acumen. You want to bring people who are really driven around being the best that they are. You know, if I was to own this business, how would I run it? If this was my business, how would I run it? So you want to bring in people who are enthusiastic around business and being very entrepreneurial, because you want entrepreneurship being brought into your, so that people can drive that, especially people who are tasked with business development, sales, marketing, the heart of the business, the commercial. People must really have that self-drive around entrepreneurship. That's not to say that some not have the business acumen so that they can be able to support your team. Any question around entire external drivers of the retention crisis? Okay, so let's continue. I want to say internal drivers, internal changes in organizations operate in concert with the external influences to drive excessive turnover. Internal issues include structural changes within the organization and changes in employee attitudes about work and their employers. The following internal drivers have a tremendous impact on staff over, isn't it? And we can all look at these and think about our organization right now. What are some of these drivers that have led to tremendous impact on turnover in your organization? When you look at all, because they lack company loyalty, remember, people should feel indispensable for the organization. Is it the need to learn a new which is not available or being availed by the company? And I can give a quick example is that now the way marketing is being done has really little space. The traditional marketing way is waning off. And then we now see, we are talking about people who are able to drive our social media handles. And that's a skill that you need to develop. And you are not giving people the opportunity to learn skill internally. You want it done, but you are not developing it. So people come and say, why? Why should I stay here? The world has evolved. There's a lot of jobs around marketing in the digital era. And these companies do it, but they're not giving me the opportunity either to self-teach myself, make mistakes as we are doing it, or there are courses that we can extend, or there are mentors that they can link me with, but they are not doing that. And they still expect me to. You know what? It was nice while it lasted. You're not giving me the opportunity. I am gone. So look at some of these things, and they're all very, very, the pillars here are all very profound, and they are real of what it is. But some are more prone to your organization, some are more prone to another organization, but all these things are things that HR grapples with. And this is what employees are saying, I will leave you because you're not for me, you know. And you see, the need for work-life balance, you're not giving it to me. You are pushing me. There is a lot of pressure and you're not giving me enough time, I will just leave. So what are some of the things when you look at the pattern of why people are leaving your organization, what really is speaking to you? Any question there? Some you can't promise all of them because you are not in a position to, but it's important to think through the ones that are really coming through during the exit period, interviews. What can you do about them? As patterns start emerging, you know, and stuff like that. Okay. If you are a very organization that is very hierarchical, you won't give a lot of autonomy and independence. If me, that's my kind of character, I don't want to supervise, then I will need to leave. So sometimes just the way they organize, very bureaucratic, very red tape, just because of the nature, not to say that it doesn't work, but if you're someone who likes more creativity, innovativeness, autonomy of working, able to fit in such a culture, you can't change. So it's important for you as recruiting to let people know this is the kind of culture we have in terms of communication and in terms of decision making, so that people also be able to understand and be able to agree that they're able to work in that kind of environment. Any question? We still got a long way to go, not too long. So strategic accountability approach is how many steps? Very quickly, in terms of, let me just put them all together. Okay. Do you see anything that you have done differently? I just wanted to highlight there. Okay. So most of the time is when we stop here, unfortunately. Let me be the bearer of bad news, that most of the time we'll just measure and monitor turnover and retention rate. Good for us. We have given the whatever, 10 people have left, it's 2% of our workforce, we're okay. We've retained 98. We're doing well. So we need to continue and say, develop fully loaded cost of turnover. What does it mean? Someone has left, whether it's a critical position or whether it's a non-critical position, but we need to really record the cost of that turnover. Recruitment cost, how much productivity is going to be lost, how to get back to the recruitment. We're going to take in recruitment, diagnose causes and needs for retention improvement, explore range of solutions, and not just for yourself, but I say that this is a management issue that needs to be taken into consideration. So don't suffer on your own trying to come up with the solutions. The solutions must come from the business. Explore range of solutions, match solutions to needs, focus value of retention solutions, calculate return on investment of retention solutions, make adjustments, and continue. So it's ending. You know, the problem is that we don't want to think until it becomes really a big thing that we've lost 30 employees in a short period of time. If we are losing 2, 3, we need to also think of what it is. And we can't just say, well, we've got a turnover of less than 8%. It doesn't make you the amazing HR expert that you're supposed to be. Whether it's one person go through the whole of this step, so that you already have plans in place, starting to collect data. And you're not now thinking, oh, I've got 20 people resigning. What do I do about it? When you had all this and time to go through this process. So are you doing it? What's stopping you from doing it? Is it the support from top management? Is it because you do not know how to do it? Now you know what kind of business that you are in. Apart from just measuring, go through all this, whatever. range of solutions and ask the business to support you. Okay? Someone else? Anything? Look into that. Let's move a bit faster. So, cognizant of the time. Any question? Any feedback? So, for you to be able, recommended categories for accumulating turnover costs, you know. So those are some of the things, and I'm sure you do this all the time. Cost, recruitment costs, employment costs, wages and salaries while training, you know, all these things, lost productivity, management time for turnover. So those are all things, temporary replacement costs. Look clever to the people that you're giving this, when you talk about the line managers. And for line managers, you can tell them, oh, let me just lose someone. This is what happens. These are all the things that we have to think about. We must cost them. And then they will say, I'd rather not lose anybody in my team. It's not worth it. If I can retain them and if I can listen more, if I can listen to how the ground is shifting, then I have better opportunity to keep them and to be able to do that. And that people will not leave. But when you start showing management and line managers what it really costs for us to be able to lose someone and what we need to do in the background, then they will start thinking a bit more in terms of how they manage their teams, okay? So I won't go one by one. We can read them as what it is, cost, what it means, recruitment costs, what it needs, you know, employment costs, what it means, orientation, you know, it's the whole thing. We exit, we recruit, we come and orient, on-job training, compensation while training, all really comes into play. So it's an explanation of this other slide that we are, and then whatever productivity loss, quality problems, because by the time you want to do the same kind, to be on the same kind of expertise and level that the person who has left has been on, then it calls for some level of mistakes and quality problems start coming into play. Customer satisfaction, you know, people are always complaining. People want the same person they've dealt with. They want continuity of expertise and knowledge, managing time for turnover issues, and temporary hire and solutions. Those are some of them. Any question? Any question, colleagues? As we wind down almost to the end, I know we are cognizant of time, running behind schedule, but thanks for the discussions. So we go on, recommended strategy for accumulating turnover costs, recruiting new employees, establishing an appropriate work environment, creating equal pay and performance processes, building motivation and commitment. We all know, you know, this, when we are replacing people, what should we take into consideration for them to know that we are really keen on them staying? So you as an organization must put in place an equal pay, equal work, equal pay for equal work, equal work for equal pay, you know, whatever it goes, you know, performance processes, how we remunerating and how we rewarding, building motivation and commitment, creating ideal environments and cultures in organization, you know, establishing appropriate work environment and things like that, recruiting new employees and holding them. You know, we are buddies in this. So it's not the days of, you know, need us and we don't need you. You are here, we welcome you, but you are not invited. So things like that. So we need to make sure that we are taking all those things into consideration. I'll move a bit faster. Yeah. That's in terms of creating that ideal. You know, we come from, we come to the team, and overall we look at the organization in totality. Okay, any question? So those are the people that whatever. So the culture, as I said, I've already spoken into that. The industry that you are in, are you know building motivation and commitment in that industry, in that organization, in the industry that you operate in, the job, people, the job that I hold, and all the things that I would want to be done holding that job, and the economy out there. You might be the best, but you're not attracting the best. And the people who you want that person, but you know that you cannot afford them. What can you do? There are some people who are just known in the industry as the best, and they are so competitive. And sometimes you want them, but you're not able to. Are you able to create a pool within yourself and build the best base for yourself? Okay. Question? Recruiting new employees, I will not go through that. We have already discussed that at length in the previous slides, so that you know what it means in terms of when people have already left and bringing whatever. Okay, managing solutions, your image, market performance, your ability to attract the best, selection, the job fit, the orientation, internal trainings, so that you are able to retain people. Job satisfaction, workplace design, safety, job security, culture, work-life balance. A big one now that we are talking about is diversity and inclusion. So let's continue being that. Pay fairly, equitably, competitively, make sure that your benefits are above, reward and recognition, job performance. And I say these are things that we do all the time. Where are you lagging behind when you look at all these ways to retain people? Where are you lagging behind? What can you do to improve? So just to jog your mind a bit more, okay? Quality of leadership, very important. Empowerment, teamwork, ethics and trust, organizational commitment, professional growth and career advancement, okay? So towards the end of it, avoidable versus unavoidable turnover is important, and this is critical for us to be able to do. This turnover is defined as the number of employees' departures and that are avoidable divided by the average number of employees during the month, and we know that, you know. So what is within the organization's control is on the left, and what is within the employee's control, it's up there. So there is voluntary and there is involuntary. So avoidable, voluntary, you know, is they are going for better pay, is control. You can take a snapshot of this and just think whether, when you think about your organization, though the notes will be on the LMS, within the employees' control, which is avoidable, is better pay, better working conditions, problems with managers, etc. You know, so within the organization's control, which is avoidable and involuntary, is you are being dismissed because of your performance. There is an impending layoff because of the way the business is doing, that is retrenchment, early refinement incentives, and resign under pressure because you can't perform, or just we've pushed you to the wall and you just have to resign. And we say amicable separation, please resign. So for the organization, then under unavoidable, move to another location, follow the spouse, which is voluntary for the employee. Stay home to care for the family, for a family member. Pregnancy, we say, well, I want to look after my children, I will not come. So unavoidable is severe medical disability, involuntary death, and retirement. So it's important for you to take these 4 quadrants and go back to how people have left the organization and map out and say, where are you getting your highest, where are people living in these 4 quadrants? Is it for better pay? So within the organization's control, employees' control, and start mapping out. It's very easy. In fact, if you don't take anything else from today's seminar, take this quadrant and then go back to why employees leave and why employers want to think that people will not leave, and then go to the last two slides where we say, what do people want? How can an organization be better in keeping their people? So you have all solutions. In fact, if anything, if you want to update and revise your policy, it's all here. All these slides that we have spoken about. So this is an extremely important slide for avoidable and unavoidable from an organization's perspective and also from an employee's perspective. Okay, great. Any question based on that? Any question, any concern that you may have? Great to have, isn't it? Yeah, it's very, it gives you a real good view of why people are leaving your organization and what you can do about it. Okay, allow me to move on. So the next one is dysfunctional turnover. The issue becomes critical when high-performing employees leave your critical mass, the organization versus those considered as low performers. So employee performance rating, on the left is employees' action. So look at this again and see why people remain in your organization and why they terminate their employment. No initiation of voluntary quit and initiation of voluntary quit. So from a positive point of view, employees remain in the organization, and from a negative point of view, employee is terminated. They do not do what is required of them. And then from a positive point of view, employees leave dysfunctional turnover and employees leave because of functional turnover, and then what it leads to is that the employee is terminated and then the employee remains in the organization. So it's a snowball effect that if you treat me well, I will stay. If you treat me badly, I will definitely not stay and I will definitely go. Okay, great. Question? Any question? Performance rating, okay. So I will not, these are just some metrics that are there. So where we say 10% is really where we should be. 15% employer of choice rate, you want to be acceptable, and maximum acceptable target in terms of, well, not 18, we still keep it at 10, but some people will say it's at. So allow me to move on in the last steps of to look at that. Any question, please feel free to stop for questions. Building a customized benchmarking project. Okay, so that is how you'd actually come and say, my people are leaving, what can I do? What can I do? Select a turnover definition. Is it voluntary? Is it avoidable? Identify benchmarking partners, collect the data, analyze the data, distribute data to partners, make use of improvement purposes. We never get to this level. Neither I've not gotten there. Let me also be truthful. And I just want to play small, and I want to look at internally, my own internal perspective. But if it's the same thing, you come and say, I want to do a job evaluation exercise. This is the same way that you go out to the and look at, my people are leaving because of, you have now gone and seen why people are leaving. And maybe you are saying because one of the things they say that the manager is not treating them well, or the pay is not right, or my career is not growing. So you can take some of the big seen the data emerging and saying, I'm going out to the market. And I'm also the people who are in the same industry or in the same business that I am, and I am going to look whether that is the same pattern and then come together around the table and say, what can we do about it? What are some of the things as peers? Now I have done this study, do that. That will be the day that we have upped our game, you know. So none of us have done that. Can we call consultants or even ask this webinar and come and say, let's do it. Let's be the ones to be seen as trailblazers. Anyone who to do that for us, and maybe could also be your thesis for your MBA or for your CHRP or even for your undergrad. So there are many ways to be able to come out tops as a HR practitioner. The data, it's credible data, let's move on with it. Or even just simulate and do many people leave and drive it in the business and see whether you'll be able information. You can sell it. It's a business idea. You can also sell it. So the last of the last, we open up for questions or answers. Any questions until there? Any questions? Reaction, feedback? So building a customized benchmark, I will not, it's just now from this, they're just explaining more how you would be able to do it. So allow me not to go there and go to this other slide and say, organizational. Do you see anything that your organization can do differently? The following breakdown shows where the turnover is occurring, even by job groups. This is important to obtain and understand the problem and successes. So those are some of the where turnover is occurring. So maybe in different industries, at the regional level, at the manufacturing level, at entire organization. So this is where majority, and sometimes it's good to see the pattern, which department is turnover. And then tell the head of the department, unfortunately, the turnover is coming from this department. And for sure, where there is the highest turnover, people have a problem with that manager. Isn't that the case? It's always the case. People will always leave from where they feel that the manager is not supporting. So you call out and tell help the manager. What is the problem? Is it the way you are leading is it the way you are supporting the team? Is the way you're communicating with them? Is it your personality? You know, and let the manager see that there is a problem. And maybe it's a critical department. And I have seen that many times. And maybe the manager does not even understand that it's their leadership style or their personality that is leading people to go. So that is important for us to be able to do that. Okay. Any question? Any question that you would like to ask? Okay. I'm sure I'll pack it to the end of the, or am I losing people? So yeah. People leave their work after people starting getting employee breaking points. People start leaving their job after 5 years. 5 years, you become an expert. Yeah. So you see, after 5 years, and the low risk. Are you able to map out that whatever like this? Are you able to map out the high risk and the low risk? Year one, very high risk, because people are here, they want to perform, to do the best. And it's important for us to know that people can get very overwhelmed at the risk of leaving in year one, because they're extremely overwhelmed. By 5 years, they've actually made a lot of inroads, and they are almost stable, and their ability to leave is very, very low. You don't have, because they understand the organization. Like Susan, who has been there for 20 years, you've understood the organization. Work is interesting. You know what is required of you. But after that, then it starts speaking and saying, what can I do better? And a good organization will already have that better in place. Next a promotion coming your way. You can lead a team now, more trainings and stuff like that for you to be able to pay. But in the first year, if you are not careful, you will lose your workforce within that 1 year. So just data-driven analysis of what it is. And boredoms, and nobody wants to be bored at their place of work. Okay, so those are the same patterns. I will not go through them one by one. Important of what it is, important way to develop turnover cost, to consider the cycle of employees as he enters and exits the organization. It's what we have been talking about. You track, you select, you take people for training, you orientate them, you initiate training and on the job development. So that is important. You monitor their performance and you make sure that you're maintaining them. Give them, then the performance start declining. How do you start now? Also making sure that they are back on a trajectory plan. Plan for them to be successful, and departure and exit. So that's the truth of the matter, is that the organization, and this will almost be the process of people leaving the organization. You can see that here. You are trying your best, and people will still leave. Okay. So I will not go through this because there's whatever causes of turnover, ethical issues, sexual harassment, poor benefits, low pay, supervisor issues, everything that actually we have actually talked about. Any question? Any question? Any question there? Okay. I'm sure you'll be able to take from plenary. So understanding how to recruit new employees, make sure that you're actually giving it the significance and you're asking the hard questions as to what want to come and join you, so that you reduce your attrition rates in the organization, your turnover rate. Okay. So simple ways, components, simplicity, uniqueness, appropriateness, continuous, foresight, and credibility. These are some of the things that you want to discuss at the interview level, so that people really, you understand where are patients when they are coming to work with you. How long will they stay? Unfortunately, you have to know how long people are going to stay, but it's important for you to be able to address some of these complexes and you to be able to be known as someone who will stay in your organization. Okay, so it's important for you to make sure that you are looking for people who are going to stay for a longer period of time. Any question? Any feedback? Any question? Okay. I know people are now starting to look at their phones and their whatever. So job fit criteria, we will not go through that. It's how you actually resource and make sure that people are fitting through well-designed solutions to be able to do that. We'll be able to make that here. Building and motivating and commitment. This is the last slides, guys. Monitor employee well-being. Look at this. Everybody is very happy. Look at this slide. That I'm happy. I came to join a good company, doing what is expected, supervisor. And this is the kind of picture that you want. This kind of picture is only taken when we want to sometimes do whatever our website, isn't it? Update our website. But this is the picture when you ask people, how do you feel? What? Even if there are challenges, but you can genuinely say, I am happy being here. I feel appreciated. My work is good. I can be able to get support from my supervisor, from HR, and the company as a whole. Okay. So this picture better continue for the longest time possible, so that it is not just for, okay. Okay. So those notes we've actually talked about all this, working the mission. You can be able to work your own mission out. That mission fits into the mission of the organization. Okay, great. So I will not go through the case study. We can work on the case study in the interest of time, but I'll just go. It's a nice case study. It's about motivation and retention of the Africa Bank. But I want us to look at the last slide around just now everything that we have talked about. Employers implement retention strategies to manage employees and attract quality employees in the organization. Competitive employee recognitions, employee assistance programs are all part of a company to maintain employee satisfaction. Strategies geared towards retaining good workers or employees help offset employees' replacement costs and reduce the indirect costs such as decreased productivity and loss of clients. Recruiting and training new employees takes time, so employee retention practices help support the organization's productivity. Necessary steps to be taken to keep current employees satisfied with their roles and activity is not interrupted. Employees are more inclined to remain that fulfills its promises made when the employees was offered or the offer was extended to come and join the organization. Retention strategies are important because they help create a positive work environment that strengthens the commitment to the organization. And finally, employees who enjoy what they do, the atmosphere and the culture in which they work in are most likely to remain employed with their company. So that brings us to the end of today's webinar. I would like to open the session for any questions, any reactions. What was your takeaway? Are you able to put some of the things that we have discussed in place? Did it meet your expectations as well?
I think I'll say something. I'm just about to drop off to go for another meeting.
Yeah.
I think for me, this is very timely. For me, who has just begun in this place, this is just so timely. Every information is so important right now.
Yeah.
So thank you very much for this. And the other thing I would ask you, you've said that we can get notes. How can I get these notes kindly? Thank you. And thank you for the training. It was awesome.
Oh, thank you, Jane. Wish you all the best in your new assignment and call on us to support you. You know, we are a network of people, all of us, to be able to call upon you. The ACHRP has a big network on Telegram, so we can post those questions. We can continue with the discussion. The notes are on the LMS learning platform. So if you're not joined the LMS learning platform for ACHRP, reach out to Dan and he can let you know how to reference them and stuff like that. So thank you, Jane. Yeah. Someone else reaction? Was it good use of your time? What are you taking away? What is the one thing that you're taking away as well?
Catherine?
Yes.
Yes, Catherine.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. I would say this was a very good training, professional content there. Thank you very much. And for me, I would say my takeaway, the entire training was good, but my key takeaway is on the bit of what employees value and what employers think that employees value. I think that was key for me. We think otherwise, and the employees think the other way around. Okay. I think that is what I'm going to focus on, and try to build on what employees value the most for them to stay. But basically, the entire training was timely and very good. Thank you. Thank you, Catherine.
Yeah. Thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, focus on what the employees want versus what the employee think that they want. The employer thinks that what they want, and we're able to move in the right direction. Thank you. Anybody else? I can see that Dan is here, and if reactions. I hope to see you tomorrow at the Strategic Workplace Change webinar, and we'll learn more. It will be continuation of our today's learnings. And I would also like to make an announcement. We have the second leadership conference happening in the month of April. I hope all of you will sign up. We've got a real good, rich conference coming up of April until the 23rd of April. So we're all hoping that we will see you in person in Naivasha, and then we'll be putting up more information as we go by. So unless then you have anything else to announce or to say, I want to wish all of you a good day, and let's meet tomorrow bright and early. Thank you all for your time.
Okay, thank you, Catherine. The only thing I would say is that I've posted my telephone number there, and I've also posted a link to this recording. So everyone who was participating here, you are able to view the entire training from the time we began up to now. And you're also able to view past trainings that we've had over the years. And the viewing, those are free of charge.
Okay, great.
In case one has an issue, unable to access the certificate from our platform, I would suggest that one can reach me on 0722 300. That is 0722 300 245. Then where to access the certificate, I want someone to watch what I write. That is achrp.org. That is our website. Once you go there, just log in. Try to enter your email and try this password. If it doesn't work, let me know. HR 2021, small letters. You'll be able to view the notes now, the PowerPoint notes. You'll also be able to find the recording there. You'll also be able to find your certificate for this particular training. If you're not in any of our WhatsApp groups, again, let's talk, and I'll be able to add you on a group that is going to enrich your knowledge on several issues regarding HR best practice at the world of work. So I want to wish you all the best. I'm in a place, David Ogutu, I'm in a place known as Kisumu City. So there is the Nyanza Western HR Convention. So after this, I'll head there and see what happens. Thank you. Enjoy your day. Susan?